Hello. We finished the last video looking at shapes and we covered the rectangle, rounded rectangle, ellipse, and line shape tools. And in this video, we're going to look at, oh, and also the polygon shape tool. In this video, we're going to look at the custom shape tool. And this one's really fun. If you click on the shape tool, and again, it's the tool just above the hand tool in your toolbar. And if you click and hold on that tool and go to the bottom option is the custom shape tool. Click on that. And what you'll see pop up, remember when we're making shapes and at all times that you're making shapes, make sure that this box here is selected to pixels. So you don't want it on path and you don't want it on shape. We haven't covered those yet, and they could make your design process really complicated if you're not familiar with what those are. So select pixels from that little drop down menu. Really important when you're using the shape tool. And then you can come over here to the far right of the tool options bar, and you'll see this little image here with a little arrow. Click on that, and this will give you some options. It says leaf trees, wild animals, boats, and flowers. And there are ways to bring in other shapes, but for now we're just going to use the default shapes. And I'll let you, if you want to explore how to bring in shapes, you can look that up on Google. Just look up how to import shapes into Photoshop. And it's a pretty easy process, and there's lots of free shapes available online. So just look that up, and then you can search free shapes for Photoshop, and you should be able to find lots of different ones, if that's something that you're into. Okay, let's check these out. So there's leaf, trees, wild animals, boats, and flowers. I'm going to go with wild animals. So click on the little arrow next to the one that you want. That'll open the folder, and you can see little mini shapes. There's an ostrich. Let's see. I'm kind of digging the giraffe right now. So I'm going to click on the giraffe, and you can hit enter on your keyboard. Select a color. I've got black already, so I'm just going to go with that. Make a new layer. And I still have all my layers from the previous shape tutorial. Oops. By the way, that box popped up because I just clicked, so I'll get to that in a second. But if you click and drag, as you'll recall with the other shapes, it'll pull the shape down from the spot that you clicked. And again, if you hold down Shift, it'll keep the shape to its original proportions so it doesn't get stretched out or elongated. Um, if you hold down Shift while you're clicking and dragging the mouse, it will keep its original proportions. Okay, so get it to the size you want and let go, just like that. All right, and just to review a couple other things, I'll select another shape here. Let's go with the ostrich. So with all the shapes, and you may have noticed in the other tutorial, though I didn't go over it, it popped up a couple times. If you just click without clicking and dragging, you get this box, and it'll ask you the width and height of the shape. And what it'll do is it'll place the shape, and you can select to place it from the center, from the point you clicked. And you can also ask it to preserve proportions, which means it won't stretch it or squish it. It'll keep it to the original proportions. I don't make shapes this way. If you want to try it, you can. We'll just type in here 200 by 200, and I will tell it to preserve proportions. And it does change that because 200 by 200 doesn't fit the original proportions. And we won't do it from center. And there it is, nice and tiny little ostrich, about 200 by 200 pixels. Um, And just to review a couple things, so I went over the Shift key. As you start drawing, Shift preserves the proportions. The Alt key, instead of pulling down from the top left corner, will pull out from the center of the shape. And so I just let go of the Alt key there. And the Space key, if I start doing this and I don't like where it's going to be, I can hold down the Space key. And while I'm holding the Space key, I can move the shape. So move it over here. All right. So Alt, Shift, Space. Some other things that you can set, and you can do this with all your different shapes, is the opacity. Let's just check that out real quick. We've been over opacity with the brush tool. So it's the same thing. For example, if I set it to 50, about 50% there, and I get a color, let's use a color for this one. And as I draw, say we'll preserve the original proportions and put that right there. And it's 50% opacity, so, and it's very similar green to this green, so it ends up just barely being visible there. But you can see through the green to the color below it. See if there's a better example over here. If I do it here, there we go. So you can see there how you can see through the green to all the things that were under it. All right. And this setting mode we'll go over in a different tutorial. I'll go over what mode does, but we'll do it here in our layers. This is our mode, and we'll look at those. Those are really cool, and we'll see what they do in our next video. And I'll see you there.